Hello, found footage fans, and welcome to We Found a Tape. We're a podcast dedicated to all things found footage. Shaky cams, paranormal sightings, and everything with an authentic edge to make it all feel real. My name's John,
And I'm David.
and join us as we hit play and uncover what lies beyond the tape. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of We Found a Tape. And today we're going to be focusing on some YouTube found footage horror. And we're going to be talking about the critically acclaimed Milk and Cereal from 2024.
This was a very interesting one.
It was.
I kind of saw this one last minute before we started recording, but it definitely didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go. So it was definitely an interesting one. I'm excited to talk about it.
This movie was written, edited, and directed by Curry Barker, and it also stars Cooper Tomlinson. They're both part of a comedy YouTube influencer duo, comedy duo, and they have a channel called That's a Bad Idea, and that's ultimately where they posted the film. They made this on a shoestring budget. I think that's where a lot of people give it the acclaim that it is due to how cheap they made it for. I believe it was around $800 was how much they spent to make it.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Which is very much in line with found footage filmmaking.
Right.
It's usually very low budget and scaled in a way that you can maximize everything that you have, which is always a great time.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I had been told about this by a number of people actually. I had a few friends reach out and tell me to watch this and ask if I'd seen it. Within probably the last 11 months is when I've been told about it. And at one point, I think I'd started watching it initially, got about 3/4 of the way through, and it's not long at all. This is like a 62-minute runtime, which is that sweet spot, I think, for found footage, which was great. And I got about halfway through. I think just something I had to take care of something and didn't end up going back to it. And we were talking recently, and we were thinking about doing some sort of YouTube found footage because there's a lot of it on there. And I mean, this is like the top tier of the YouTube found footage, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. This movie felt a lot shorter. It was, like you said, like about an hour and 2 minutes, but it felt like 45 minutes. A lot of it was kind of like quick and to the point. There was not a lot of fluff in there to extend it, to a ridiculous time. They didn't add a lot of things in there that didn't need to be added, so that was good. But yeah, man, at least once a week in the found footage horror groups on Facebook, somebody mentions this movie at least once a week. They bring it up that either they're asking for recommendations, somebody recommends it, or somebody's talking about it, asking people's thoughts and opinions on Milk and Cereal. So it's definitely talked about a lot.
Hell yeah. And they're the show that they do, and the short, I've seen a lot of shorts that they posted on things like Instagram and YouTube. Some of it is really it's really dark, some of the stuff. It always take a dark turn, and it's hilarious stuff. Like some of the things I've seen is just so funny. So definitely check them out on YouTube and also on Instagram to get involved with that. But yeah, before we dive into the movie, why don't we
hit them with the old synopsis?
Hell yeah. Milk and Cereal from 2024. A surprise birthday prank takes a turn for the worst when a popular social media duo must face the reality of the terrifying aftermath.
Yeah, definitely happened.
Oh yeah. But yeah,
So, when I first saw this movie, I'm gonna come right out and say it. I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off. When I first started this movie, they started calling him Milk, right? And immediately when they cut to that part where he's in the kitchen talking to the two girls, before they'd asked him why he was called Milk, I had seen him, right, but I see like side views. I didn't see him head on right away. I was like, is it because he's an albino? And then they asked him, like, why do they call you Milk? And then they go, well, because he drinks a lot of milk. And they open the fridge and there's gallons of milk in there. It's like, he's not an albino. And then maybe like 30 seconds down the road, you get a front visual of him, and he's got blue eyes. I was like, okay, he doesn't have pink eyes. So yeah, that was my first initial thought. I thought he was albino, and it was just kind of like a rib at his, skin, his condition. You know what I mean? Like the way that he is. But no, it was actually because he drinks a lot of milk. So yeah.
Yeah, and he's also blonde, so
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he was very, very light complected.
Yeah, so it's obviously to draw the comparisons with like that sort of Norse, like Nordic influence, maybe. Because I know me being from Scotland, right? Like I'm very pale. Like it may not come through, but I am very pale. Chalk white, milk white.
I can confirm.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, we don't get a lot of sun, so that's probably why. But I'm pretty sure they're in California. So
have you ever considered getting a spray tan?
No, never.
It could just be like orange, like one of the wrestlers, like how they come out like super orange the next week instead of like their original color.
No, I've never. My aunt used to work in a tanning salon though.
Oh wow!
And it was called body bronzing.
Body bronzing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, milk and cereal.
Yeah, milk and cereal.
And yeah, like you mentioned there about the character's named Milk. And then we also have another character who's called Seven, and they do a great job of really explaining these nicknames. Like I think, like you mentioned, like there's not a lot of fluff in here. It's very straight to the point, full of tension. Like I feel like there's just this tense atmosphere throughout, which is fantastic in my opinion. It's definitely one of the huge selling points of this film. It's just tense the whole way through. You're always on the edge of your seat because you never really know where it's going to twist and turn. But we have Seven because he's like the seventh in line with his name. It's kind of where it ended up going. I thought that was quite fun. And it starts with Seven really going into a bit more detail about a prank that he's going to pull on Milk for his birthday, and ultimately, and it's quite a extreme prank. Like this is definitely the modern times of extreme pranking, which is common on the internet. And they're ultimately going to have like someone show up and fire a fake gun and pretend to kill one of their friends at the party, and then bring out cake.
What I found that was very funny is that they found some actor that was going to do like the whole gun prank on the dark web. Like I didn't know that they had actors on the dark web to pull off these kind of. I thought you would just find a regular actor that that could do this, but apparently
no. I think the actor is from his acting class. When they get the blanks and the gun from the dark web.
Okay.
Because then that's when they go and meet the guy in the sketchy van.
Right. They're all sitting inside the van with him, and he shoots himself, and he didn't really shoot himself. It was blanks, and he freaks them out. They're all scared and shit. And he's like, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, like that would be so fucking loud too, right?
It'd be amazing, like the cops weren't called or anything because these gunshots are going off throughout the whole movie. Because I mean, there's several points where a gun is fired and no cops are called. So yeah, but it's still funny though.
Yeah, there's so many funny parts in this film, and again, going back to the fact that it's only 60 minutes long, like it's really just over an hour, and they hit every beat like right on. I There's never a point where there's not something happening that's either incredibly ridiculous in terms of the situation that they're in.
That's right.
For example, um, they're in a sketchy van in a car park testing out blank guns. They're in the apartment and the old guy's like sitting like in the middle of their apartment.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. That whole thing was creepy, man. They pulled the prank on Milk, and the gun thing happened, right, where the gun went off. Everybody was freaked out, and then they just hey, I'm just kidding. The girl gets up and they're throwing you know party confetti and all that stuff. And then after that, they get the knock at the door, right? And Milk's like, "Nah, you're pulling another prank." He's all, "Come on, man, I'm not that smart enough to pull off two pranks in one day." And so he's like, okay. So he goes to answer the door, and there's this old man there. Dude was creepy right off the bat because he was super tall, like he was taller than all of them. He was a big guy, and he's kind of mumbling to them. He's got kids, they can keep it down, and he just forces his way through the apartment and starts walking around. Did you notice there was kind of like a Braun Breaker moment on the way out, the old man, where he kind of like growls or barks at
yeah,
at the what was it, Milk that he barked at, or
I
was
think
it
so. Yeah, I think
yeah,
it's,
I think it was Milk. Yeah, I think it was Milk that he barked. He was like, "Oh," and he just walked right out the door, like, what the hell? Everybody's like, what the fuck was that?
yeah, and a lot of the storylines for this, they're in like a non-linear fashion, right? So there's a lot of layers to it. Um, in short, the movie is really about them pranking each other, unbeknownst to the other, and then it elevates to a more sinister turn that we find out in the end. But with that, they end up going to 7-Eleven after the party, and they bump into the guy again, who's just standing outside in the street. And like, is that fucking guy again? And then Milk, goes up to him. He still thinks it's a prank. Like this whole thing, he still thinks is just some prank from Seven. Unbeknownst, we find out again through the non-linear storytelling that the character here is actually, and he is a neighbor of theirs, but he is an actor, which I assume, being in California or Hollywood or in the suburbs of Hollywood, that you would come across a lot of people that are aspiring actors who are looking for the next job and things like that. And I feel like it is somewhat readily available for you to find someone who, as soon as you say, "Oh yeah, do you want a gig?" they're like, "Yeah, for sure." And it starts off fairly tame, like pretend to be crazy type thing. He's like, "I'm going to prank my friend," and then it takes a bit more of a obscure turn where Milk starts to act a bit more on the stranger side, and he's asking him to do things like to drug him. Like he wants him to drug Seven at one point.
Right.
Like it takes this like nosedive, and yeah, like just the tension and the points that it keeps hitting throughout is just, it keeps building and building and escalating to a point of no return. Right, everyone's involved in something.
It is weird how everybody is involved, and the only ones that are not involved and are kind of like out of the loop are the two friends that, you know, occasionally come and visit the one girl that's the other roommate. But in speaking and all that, there are some weird twists and turns that I did not see coming. Because in the beginning, when you see this old man sitting on the couch, I thought he was like a ghost or a demon or something, because he was just randomly in the apartment. The doors were locked and everything from the inside. So how did he get in? And then they come back from upstairs after kind of like, you know, figuring out how they're going to come and confront this guy that's sitting on their couch. He's gone. They come downstairs. They're checking everything. Seven comes around, looks up the stairway, and the guy just walks across like a ghost. You know what I mean? Like a spirit, something like you would see in The Conjuring, that are actual corporeal, you know, ghost or phantom. So that's where I was going at the beginning of this. But as you progress on, it starts to turn into pranks, and then you find out that, you know, there's more sinister motivations behind Milk in this whole thing, because this dude is batshit crazy.
He is batshit crazy, and one of the main themes throughout is just that sort of gaslighting that he's ultimately doing to, I assume, all of his friends, like, because it's not just Seven. I feel like he's also like doing it to his other friends as well, to try and get them and lure them into that false sense of security. And he ultimately does that very well. Like, he mentions a few different serial killers at one point,
Right.
And they were all ones that were prolific, but also they went on for so long because they were such sort of plain, could mix with the general public, but were also like highly intelligent and highly like just basically would be able to fit in. They were like chameleons. They could just, you know, fit in with a crowd, and no one would know wiser, and everyone would probably think, oh, it could never be Milk. Like, Milk is Milk, right?
Right.
So I love how they portray that, and the mask as well. I thought was very very creepy.
Yeah.
But simple but effective.
I was trying to remember where I had seen a mask like that before, because is it, and it wasn't I had to think about it, right? It wasn't a scary movie. I think it was Gone in 60 Seconds, where they go to raid the car impound to get the cars, and they're all wearing the clear masks. And I think that's kind of like the mask type that they're wearing when they're going in for that robbery or that heist.
Right. No, I can't think of that off the top of my head, but it sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah,
because they were wearing something on their face, I think, if I recall correctly. I'd have to go back, and I'm more than likely going to watch it at work tomorrow and try to prove myself right. But
yeah.
That's something that you know, just popped in my head. I knew I had seen that mask somewhere, and I think that's the movie that I'm thinking of. But anyways, the mask was creepy. The fact that he was light complected, you know, and crazy. He like, it turned into a different person when he put the mask on, right? He became more, how can I say, like, intense. Because the way that he's speaking, like he felt like more confident behind the mask, and, you know, he turns into that killer behind the mask.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was really weird, but I like the mask concept, because, you know, this is who he is. This is who he becomes when he becomes a killer, like flipping the switch, kind of.
Right. And throughout as well, it's not incessantly violent by any means. Like, there's not a lot of like blood and guts and gore, and I think that is it was ultimately incredibly effective. It didn't need a ton of blood and guts and gore. A lot of the tense atmosphere came from just the experiences that the characters were in at that point. The main one where we see that the guy who Milk had hired, like, when they decide to go on the next day to calm down the situation, like, we're going to go and have dinner with this guy, we're going to go and hang out.
Yeah, the Seven was already on the fence about that. It's like, why the fuck are we doing this?
Yeah, yeah. But it also goes to show you how Milk can manipulate any situation he's
Right,
in,
right.
right? There's always a justification for it. There's always a reason, and there's always a way to get someone to do something that they don't want to do. Because ultimately, in every scenario, that's what happens. They come together with a conflict. Milk readjusts the situation and readjusts his wording, and it ultimately then leads to them partaking in the situation, right? When he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not gonna drug you. Like I'm not gonna do that. Like, that's not a thing."
Yeah.
And he somehow turns it around to be like, "Well, it's not even that. It's like sleeping medication." And he's
Right,
like,
sleeping medication.
"Okay,
And
no
he
camera."
already knows, right? And he already knows that we're going to do that to him anyway, so it's okay. Like, and I'm going to do it. You don't have to do it, so don't even worry about. I'll bring the wine bottle. So yeah, yeah,
Yep,
yeah. He had a way of convincing people to, to do things.
he did. And then as well after that, um, they end up being drugged. I'll say in parentheses. Seven's really the only one that gets drugged, I think. And the they end up being taken at the desert, and he does the old switcheroo where they use the gun with the blanks, but he switches the blanks for real bullets, and ultimately he just gets Seven to kill the guy, like to
Yeah,
shoot the guy.
he turns his roommate into a murderer
Yeah,
and sends the dude into like a mental spiral because he's killed somebody, and now he's freaking out because the outcome of what can happen when you murder somebody. And they go on this whole thing, like he sends him into Home Depot or whatever to go get like shovels and shit like that. The cop shows up and he's talking to him, and talking to Milk in the car, and he's like, why are you so tense? And it was just an awkward situation, man. It was like he could have just gotten caught right there at any second.
and it's funny, right? When that happens, that also draws parallels to the likes of Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, who all at one point or another came into contact with the police in the middle of some form of crime in progress, and were ultimately turned away. So I think that also draws the parallels for Milk as well, because his end goal really is to be the world's best serial killer, or the greatest serial killer. So that's something I thought was quite a smart thing to do. Like he I don't think he intended to park in a handicapped spot outside the Home Depot. He just was like just parked, and
Right.
then he's like like hitting himself. He's like, so stupid. Like, why did you do that? How did you forget the shovels?
Yeah, but he was freaking out though. He's like, is that a cop? Is he gonna come over here? What's that cop doing? Like he was freaking out. Like he was like talking to himself. He's like, why is he walking over here? He's coming over here. And just somebody just knocks on the window and starts talking to him. Of course, you never see the cop because they come from the front view, and it's more like a side view, so you never actually really see the cop. It's probably an actor, of course, but that whole interaction with the cop, and then he sees his buddy walk into the car. He's signaling to him to go away because the cop is there, and he's like, yelling at himself, and the cop's like, "What's wrong? Is everything okay?" He seemed kind of tense, and he managed to calm down the situation and still get out of there in one piece, and go bury the body of the guy, the actor.
Yeah, and and just the way that he pulls Seven into this world that he's been in himself for so long, and make him a sort of forced accomplice,
Right.
was just so eerie. Like, it's just insane that you would do that to like your best friend, right? Like, I know for a fact I wouldn't be pulling you in on a crime spree, David.
Yeah, no, definitely not, man. I wouldn't do that to anybody else. If one's going down, why are you going to bring others with you in the process? It's
Totally.
it's all on you. So, but yeah, man. And as soon as all this is happening, the son of Frank, which is the actor, starts to become suspicious because he's their neighbor, and he was there for the whole interaction of them hiring him, or Milk hiring him for the acting gig, and now he's gone. And he's like wondering, he came to the apartment to kind of ask that, if you can come over here for a moment, I need to talk to you. My dad's missing, he won't answer the phone. They're kind of, Seven is just there in shock because he's just so worried that he's going to get found out that he killed his dad. And Milk is calm as calm can be. He's like telling him, well, I mean, he really didn't tell us where he was going. We just kind of did, the gig, and that was it. He went his way. And, the dad kind of like, well, maybe he went to Vegas. Yeah, maybe he went to Vegas. You just kind of like, going with him, trying to convince him that, that's indeed what happened. It's kind of normal for Frank to just disappear and randomly go to Vegas. So, they kind of have, a working story there to kind of get them off, get them off their scent, basically, to, not suspect that they've killed his father.
Totally.
Or they've done something with him.
Yeah. And as well, like one of the main things that happens with Milk and Seven is just that, Seven is close to a mental breakdown the entire time.
Yeah.
He's just so close to, he's just like, at one point, he's just like, just kill me. Just kill me, man. Like, I don't want to do this. He's like, turn me in or kill me. Like, I can't deal with this any longer. And Milk again manipulates the situation and convinces him that he's like, okay, well, the only way we're gonna get out of this is we're gonna have to kill the son as well.
Right.
Like, that's in Milk's mind, that's the logical conclusion. Not, okay, maybe we go to the police or or whatnot. I mean, or we should never have gotten that situation in the first place. This is all orchestrated by Milk. And he's just so calm throughout, and because he's really the one in the back end pulling the strings, right? He's the one that's doing the, look over here when really everything's all happening over here. So, but but yeah, the just the sort of power exchange between Seven and Milk, just the deterioration of Seven really is what the second half or second third of the film really is. One of my favorite parts is when they put the glasses on, because
the spy glasses.
Yeah, he's got this. So they come to the plan that they're gonna go and they're gonna kill the son, because he knows he's convinced them, like, he knows something's gonna happen, and he ends up wearing spy glasses so that he could live stream, so that Milk could see, and they're great ideas to get him in the bathroom, right? He's like, just get him in the bathroom. He's like, how am I supposed to get him in the bathroom? He's like, just get him in the bathroom. He's like, so he's got the glass on, and then he goes to put the gun in his pants. He's like, whoa, what are you doing? You're gonna shoot yourself. And he's just like clearly like super terrified at the fact that he's they're gonna have to go and do this. He's gonna have to go into this other person's apartment and get him into the bathroom so that Milk can kill him. And he ultimately does a good job of it, because Milk's just sort of in the other room, or in the apartment, just like looking at the stream, and he's like, "Oh, there's my cue."
Yeah, I like that part. That's my cue, and he just gets up and takes off.
He's just and the son is obviously like, he's just pissed off and mad. He's like, I don't want to be a part of a fucking prank. Like, just stop. Where's my dad? And then what is it? Seven says, like, again, to try and buy some time so that Milk can come in and save him. Essentially, he's just like, well, let's just finish the prank. Let's just finish the prank. They're always committed to the prank, and I think in my assumption, I've never been part of a prank channel, to be fair, but I would assume that you have to commit to the prank.
Yeah, you definitely do. Yeah, but they managed to get the son in there. Said his dad's in the bathroom. Pulls the curtain back. There's nobody there, and he's like, he's even more pissed off now. And then Milk comes out of nowhere, stabs him in the neck, and game over. for the
Yeah.
son.
And then, in addition to all of that, that's when we're starting to see more of the friends who are trying to. They know that something's not right, and they're doing their own sort of investigation. So they show up, and they're looking for camera equipment, looking for SD cards. Like that's the first thought, is to look for SD cards, which makes sense. And in the process, they end up finding Milk's little souvenir box, which has so ultimately it's vials of blood, is what it is.
I like that. It was very Dexter, because you know how he takes a sample of blood from every victim.
Yeah, I didn't think of that at the time, but that's a good comparison. It is very Dexter, and they end up somehow as well. He has the address for the place where he takes his victims. Right, it's almost like a very Milk thing to do as well. We used to put the address of where he has his special place, I guess, just in case he forgets, with a key to get to the place. So that's where they find Lara. After they find like a vial of her, a vial labeled with Lara, because they're still convinced that she's just missing at that point. They're wondering if something's happened to her. And that really confirms that, and they go, and that's where they look. And just before that, they end up bumping into Milk, who has like trash bags and like cleaning materials and shit. Like, this guy, man.
That was a weird interaction, but he managed to get out of that one too. Like,
yeah.
It's not really a good time. We're helping the neighbor, with this and this. Maybe we can, chat later. And they're like, oh, okay, it's okay. We're in a hurry too. They've got the address where they need to go and see what's going on. So everybody just kind of splits and goes their way. But it's a very awkward interaction, because, it's kind of like, something's up with you. Something's up with y'all, because y'all are here and he didn't say, you were coming. So, everybody's kind of like pointing at each other, but not pointing at each other.
Hell yeah. But yeah, it just remains tense. Like every turn that happens, every situation, every prank ultimately has this awkward, abrupt sort of tension to it, and it just keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole time. And I think with the ending of it, it makes sense. We hear like a monologue from Milk, who is explaining himself. Ultimately, it's almost like a video diary entry to say, here's my crimes, this is what I've done, and now 7 is going to be my 7th victim. He's like, I didn't even think of that. And just the way in which he goes through that, like, and then he puts the mask on, and what does he say? Well, why don't you like it? Why don't you like it? That's one that it's like a catchphrase that he has throughout. Especially when he's wearing the mask, he's just like, "Why don't you like it? Why don't you like it?"
Yeah.
But yeah, like and then of course 7 overhears, and he has the one thing I also noticed is he still has the glasses on, so it's ultimately still streaming on in the other apartment, and he's there, and he finally takes care of Milk.
So is it implied at the end that, yes, of course, you visually see that he shot Milk, but he also shoots himself?
That's a good point. So right at the very end credits, and I think it's probably sort of open-ended. I think for your interpretation, it could be that he's shot Milk, and the second shot was also Milk, just like that double tap, like that Zombieland tactic, like making sure. I do like the theory that you have mentioned, though. That was my interpretation of it, was that he shoots Milk, and then at that point, of course, Milk has the camera, and it sort of falls to the side because you don't see it. My understanding would be that he then shoots himself, because of the fact that not only has he been part of all of this, but also he has then shot his best friend. So that makes the most sense.
Right. And that's what I thought too, because he's already gone through this trauma. He's killed this person already.
Yeah.
They killed the son too. So I mean, he's already mentally destroyed at this point. So he comes in, he hears that destroys him even more, out of anger, because he was dragged into all this. He shoots Milk, but at the same time, like you said, he realized he just shot his best friend. Where does he go from here? There's nowhere to go, except down, 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 down. And ultimately, that second shot that you don't see where it connects, that's what I thought, what it led up to, that he shot himself because of, all the trauma that he's been through. And then all this new trauma was just too much for him to take. And, he takes his own life. So that's why I thought of it.
And then another potential theory, which could be that when Seven shoots Milk, he either misses or he hits Milk, and Milk also has a gun, and he shoots back and he gets Seven. That's also a possibility as well, because the camera drops, right? We don't see any other footage, so it's ultimately that. So I think really, and it's quite smart, because you can take your own interpretation of that ending, and each of them is fairly logical. Right. The one part though is at the very end of the credits is the camera moves, like someone picks up the camera and like sort of turns it off. So that could be lending itself more to Seven shooting Milk and then
taking the footage,
then just sort of turning the camera off. Yeah. But yeah, I think it really lends itself to all of them. We don't hear any police or anyone busting into the room, so that's where it doesn't seem like it's anyone else.
Right.
We don't hear any screaming or shouting or anything like that. But yeah, I do like the different angles that could be portrayed from the ending of it. I think that was really clever, and the way it was done. The whole film was really clever. I think it was done very well, especially doing a non-linear storyline where everything sort of overlaps on each other, and you fill in the blanks as you go along. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, right. And another theory just came to my head too. What if he shot Milk, like you said, didn't kill him? Maybe he just got like a shoulder shot, and Milk could have had a gun, shot him dead, and then he was the one that picked up the camera and turned it off too. So that's also another possibility.
True. Yeah. That is there's so many possibilities, and I love that. I do like when an open-ended ending is done well like that. I think it's very, very effective. If it leaves you with more questions, I think that's where and I think that's very much a pitfall of found footage, is where an ending really doesn't have any explanation and there's nothing really to tie it all together. So it can come across as a little abrupt or dry or confusing, or you're just kind of like, wait, what? That was the end? This one was very, like, again, the pacing was done very well, and making a point of everything hitting its beat and going through everything was just so well done.
Right. And taking a look here, at the YouTube channel, that's a bad idea that that they host the or have put out Milk and Cereal. That movie currently has almost 2 million. It's 1.9 million views. So I mean, it's definitely out there. People have taken a liking to, it's definitely talked about. A fair amount of people have seen it. So at almost 2 million views. So that's also worth mentioning, that it's pretty popular. It's pretty out there.
Hell yeah. And the fact that it's only been around for literally a year, like as of this episode going out, is the 1 year anniversary of the release of the film, of it going out on YouTube. My understanding is that the the reason for it was they were given distribution, but they ultimately ended up going against that. Potentially more so to just protect themselves, and they kind of knew what they had, and they decided to go the YouTube route, which for some that could be detrimental for the film. It could just sort of sit there and just slowly churn away and do some stuff. But with this, it definitely picked up a snowball and went running with it, because like you said, there's a lot of people that are talking about this, and found footage as a genre relies heavily on people word of mouth, spreading the word, watching it, and then telling a friend. And I think that's where that sort of grassroots campaign really comes into play and really helps it. And I think that's really what's happened here, because I remember when it did come out, there was a lot of buzz about it. There was a lot of buzz saying like, "Hey, there's this new found footage movie, and it's not like your typical." And it's not. It's not a typical found footage film. Even the prank aspect, like that's not necessarily an original idea, but the delivery of it, the non-linear storytelling of it, the components of it, the everything was just so. It felt unique. Even if it may not have been, like, it definitely draws influences from other places, and I think it's the good influences, right? It's the good parts that it's drawing in and portraying within the film, and I think that really is the shining star of the whole thing, is really just the way that the influences come through, and it's not an apparent or direct rip-off of another found footage film. It's a bunch of ideas that are expertly crafted and put out there in a cohesive, somewhat short runtime that hits everything. Everything's explained, and there's nothing really unturned that hasn't been already.
Definitely very unique in its own right to me. It does give that feeling because of all the different influences that they were just crafted in a way that they were meant to create the film that it is today. but it's definitely in the eye of the viewer, it can be unique in its own way, because it's not something that is so well planned out. Because I mean there are good found footage movies out there, but some of them add the extra fluff and things like that don't really need to be in there. And these guys just kind of did it short, sweet, to the point, but at the same time gave all those twists and turns, all the suspense. It was just super well done. I mean, what else can I say?
Yeah. No, it was great. And like I said before, it was like a $800 budget is really what they did to make this film, which is insane considering the quality, first of all, but also it is very minimalist. Like, it's not like you don't have this fucking 7-foot tall giant monster running through the woods. You don't have, like, it's all set in suburban California. It's not in the woods. It's in an apartment building, basically. It's in the streets around. It's like, it's maximizing everything that he had.
Right.
And that was just expertly done, man. Like, it's just like, it's such a great thing, and it's on YouTube. It's not as if it's on Amazon or anything like that. It's on YouTube. You can watch it for free, and it's just incredible, man. It's incredibly creative, and Curry Barker he's done another short film. I believe it's called The Chair, which I haven't seen. It's been on my watch list for some time, but if Milk and Cereal is anything to go by, then his other work is also probably going to be incredibly well done, incredibly creative, and he has just such a key eye for suspense and found footage specifically as well. Like, I think this is a great example of storytelling and suspense prioritized over things like large sets or environment, things like that. So, yeah, I really don't have a bad thing to say about it, honestly.
Yeah, me neither. And this movie was a great example. So I've always said one of the best things about found footage is using what you have available to you, using your surroundings, and making something out of nothing. And this movie is a great example of that. It's an apartment complex just with everything that they have around them. Everything was just done and planned out so great. So yeah, I can't say anything bad about it either.
Hell yeah, yeah, and I
The
we
only
just
the only thing I would say is that although that there was no distribution, though it was just strictly YouTube, I would love as a physical media collector, would love to see them do a limited run, even if it's like, say 100 copies or 500 copies of, physical media run, just to, because that's something that you can definitely, corner with this because it was done so well. I feel that, that would do really well, even if it was a limited,
hell yeah. No, I fully agree with that. Same here. I would love to own a copy of that.
yeah,
Most definitely.
absolutely.
And it's short, and again it's short. Like a lot of found footage is like you said, full of fluff. So it's a short runtime, an
Yeah.
hour, and it doesn't even feel like an hour.
Yeah, to me, it felt like, 40, 45 minutes. I was surprised that it felt so quickly, but so much happened to where it wasn't rushed. It was nicely paced. It didn't feel like, rushed in the short time that, that they made this movie. So it's great. It's just great.
Hell yeah. With that being said, I think it's probably time that we rate this bad boy. David, would you like to do the honors?
Sure, absolutely. So this one hit all the points, right? Nothing I can say bad about this movie except, and it's not even a bad point. It's just a suggestion, maybe, some limited run of physical media down the line. But everything was well paced in the short time that it was made, which was 1 hour and 2 minutes, I believe, maybe a little bit slightly over 1 hour and 2 minutes. But characters did a great job. Yeah, I really can't say anything bad about this movie. It was really, really good. And I had not watched it. You told me about this a long time ago, and I just kept, overlooking. And I wish I had watched it sooner. So, but as far as the scoring goes, because I would say that there's nothing bad. Excuse me. As far as the scoring goes, because I can't say anything bad about it, everything entertained me all the way through, kept me in suspense. It's solid golden tape, man.
Oh, hell yeah! I love where you're going with that, David.
Because I mean, we can give golden tapes to Paranormal Activity, movies like that had a high budget, but for something with such a low budget to do such a great job, I really think it deserves to be up there in the golden tape scoring system, in my opinion, at least for my score. It really deserves that spot, and I'm happy to give that golden tape to this movie, Milk and Cereal.
Hell yeah! I love that as well. Again, I've been told by a number of people who watch it, close friends of mine that really don't watch found footage. They're more so just fans of their work outside of this film, just through like their comedy, and that brought them into this world to watching a found footage film. And for that, I think that's incredible. I always love when people venture into found footage, especially if they do more serious work, or not highbrow, but like a different element of either filmmaking or a different career path. Things like comedy and all that. It lends itself so well to found footage, and I think this is an expertly done found footage film that will hit every point. It will please any found footage fan, I think, and it's definitely like a must watch. So for me, I think I'm going to give it a golden tape as well.
Well done, sir. I completely agree with you.
Hell yeah. No, Curry and Cooper did an absolutely incredible job. and 100% kudos to them for this. Like, it's highly praised, and I think that's quite rare for this subgenre. It's rare to get such high praise because of the sheer volume of other found footage films that just get tarred with the same brush, and it's so hard to really find something that cuts through all of that, and I think they've done an incredible job of doing that. So
right on.
But as well, like this episode comes out in the 1 year anniversary, so what better way to enjoy than to watch it, check it out, go and check out their socials, which we'll have in the description. Definitely check them out. We'd love to have them on the show sometimes, and maybe that's something that's in the future. Thank you so much. This is our first video podcast that we're doing for the main show. We've been doing that with Tape Talk, so we thought we'd give it a try with this. So definitely let us know your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe, follow us wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're also on YouTube and also Amazon. You can also find us on Instagram at We Found a Tape.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to this episode. Happy 1 year anniversary to Milk and Cereal. Like John said, if you haven't seen it, definitely go out and watch it, especially on this day. Other than that, we will catch you on the next one. And don't forget, be kind and rewind.